All right, good evening. The time is 6:22. Let's call this meeting of the Community Development Advisory Committee to order. Let's start out first, attendance, and we'll start with our city council person.
Kenya Middleton, ex officio. Good evening, Deborah Hogan, mayoral appointee.
Ebony Hato, Secretary, District 4.
Justin McGregor, 7th District Chair.
Marilyn Austin, 6th District.
Jordan Trice, 5th District.
All right, well, we'd like to welcome Eileen Hughes. Welcome. You're a new appointee from Kenya. And when you go to speak, make sure you push the button in the middle and it turns green. All right, we are being recorded and it is live on the City of Binghamton website. All right, so everyone in front of you have your minutes from the previous meeting from, I believe it was January 31st. Has everyone had a chance to go over the minutes? Do you approve of the minutes? And if so, do we have any motions to accept them?
Motion to approve.
All right, do we have a second?
Second it.
All right. All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
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 All right, unanimous approval. All right, now it's time for us to get to our department presentations. According to Stephen, our first group is the police. Are we police department here? All right.
And just so department heads are aware, there is a CDBG budget for the current year in front of you for reference. If you need to look, I can help if you're not sure where your budget is on there.
All right, we'll start out by introducing yourself. We have new members who do not know who you are. I'm sorry, is the green light on?
It is now.
There you go.
All right, good evening.
You can let go of it once it's green.
Good evening. My name's Dan Flanders. I'm with Binghamton Police Department. I'm a lieutenant and I manage the crime prevention unit.
All right. There isn't one. All right, so is there anything in particular that you want to present to us as your priorities for CDAC?
Yeah, our priorities, in the past, we've used the CDBG funding. It's been used for walking detail overtime, bike detail overtime, as well as a girls and boys club program. Currently, we don't have a boys and girls program, but because that dissolved during the 2020 COVID epidemic, we would like to bring that back. And that's what we would use some of the CDBG funding for. We would also like to use funding from the CDBG for new cameras in predefined CDBG areas.
Now should I step over to ask questions or can I do it from the chair? All right. Questions on those cameras? The cameras mounted to street poles or body cams? What in particular?
Yeah, so those cameras would be mounted in a fixed position, most likely on some sort of lamp post or what would be around that area.
Okay.
Each one of those cameras would be a cost of $12,000.
Hi, I just want to ask a question. You said the CBG areas, so there's certain areas that you target for cameras. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, so the cameras would go into the predefined CDBG areas. Some of those areas are on our 209 post, which is north of Main Street. And then we also have areas that are in the Country Town area, which is over in 205's area, or I'm sorry, 206. And that's would be our main focus is, areas that are already predefined.
Okay, I had one more question and I'll leave you alone. You said that you want to bring back like the Boys and Girls Program. Can you just tell me a little bit about that and what that would consist of?
Sure. So in the past, the Boys and Girls Club program, basically, it was coordinated through, I don't know what the female's name is offhand, but it was coordinated through a staff member there. And then we would have some of our police officers go while the students or the boys and girls are there at the program. And they would interact, play ball with them, and just give them a friendly face, something that, so they see the police in a different light.
Okay, awesome. I remember when I was in high school, there was a program. It was like kind of a law enforcement program that we did. And so we would come to the police station and we'd learn just about how the way, law enforcement operated. And we went to visit the county jail and just different things like that. So I was just interested in what you did. So thank you so much.
Sure, sure.
Deborah?
Lieutenant Flanders, Deborah Hogan, how are you?
I'm
We-
good.
We've spoken many times on the phone and thank you for being a listening ear, Center City and our entire city. Couple things that I'm concerned about. One is SEPTED. I'm not sure necessarily there would be funding from that. I don't know if you do need funding, but are there any plans to bring that back?
So as far as SEPTED goes, I believe we are still doing SEPTED. That's typically run out of our crime analysis center with Captain Dave Bidwell.
Yes, I've worked with him on that in the past. Okay. My second question is, in the past, funds have been used for the Citizen Police Academy. Are there any plans for the adult or youth programs?
Yeah, so we haven't done the Adult Citizen Police Academy in some time. I think that was one of the things that kind of fizzled out kind of around COVID time. There has been talk to bring back the police academy.
Highly recommend it because it's a wonderful opportunity for new residents or even just residents who've been here to get a look and feel of our department. It puts a one-on-one face. So if anybody needs to call or like CRT, they get to see those officers. So when it's warm, they might see them in their neighborhood and they'd be more willing to speak with them. I think even myself, who's worked with the neighborhood watch, was really impressed with how many departments and how many officers you have, whether it be juvenile, traffic. All of those presentations were very interesting and very well received. So would really like to see a vote for that to come back. Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions? Comments? None? All right. Seeing none, I thank you. Any
Thank
other
you.
comments you'd like to make?
Thank you.
No, I don't have any comments.
All right, very good. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next department presentation is from the Department of Public Works. DPW does have a page in your packet.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Josh Paludi. I am the Acting Commissioner of the Public Works Department. All right, my overall budget, we use funds from CHIPS and CDBG for all mill and pave projects. CHIPS are allocated between DPW and engineering for all our milling and paving projects for everything within the city. It's my responsibility for 150 miles of city streets in Binghamton. I'm responsible for the repair, including milling and paving work on all of those streets. This year I chose a single CBDG eligible street. That way the funds can allow me to focus on one street. I can focus all my guys on one thing all at once and really focus on one thing and get that street very set up the way it should be.
Sorry, are you going to name that street or have you not named it yet?
I would like to do Hayes Street this year
Okay.
for 2025.
The cross streets for that?
The cross streets from Hayes are going to be Conklin and Webster.
Go ahead. Okay. Included in that project, is that just mill and pave or is that whole?
For Hayes Street, there's a little bit of underground work that's going to need done too.
Okay, and then
And
do you have
that's-
an estimated cost on that?
The estimated cost for the whole street was right around $130, $130,000.
For $130.
I wish it was that simple. We do a lot more.
Wow, all right, $130,000, Hayes. Okay. Anything else that you'd like to present to us? Or any other comments you'd like to make?
Nope. If you have any questions, I'm free.
Do we have any questions for him? That's your neighborhood. You like those streets. Deborah, anything? You're good? All right. Ebony? No? All right, Joshua, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
Parks Department. Come on down. Welcome not only to this meeting, but I guess to the Parks Department as well.
Yes, I'm very new.
And what's
As
your
of
name?
Today,
Uh-huh.
so.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Right into the hot seat.
My name is Nick Ballard. I'm acting commissioner at the Parks and Recreation Department. I'm new to this CBDG money, so in the previous years, we've used it at multiple parks.
Hey, Nick,
Or-
is the green light on your mic?
Seems to be.
Okay, there you go. It's directional, so talk right into it.
All right.
Thank you.
So we've used this funding for things as small as fencing around ball fields, 5-bar surfacing at playgrounds. What we're proposing to do in 2025 would be to resurface or mill, pave and resurface some of our basketball courts in the parks. There's 8 parks that are eligible for it. We were thinking to start with Kent Park, Boothfield, and First Ward Park basketball courts.
Okay. And that's the exclusivity of what you want to do with the funds this year?
as of now, unless
As
we
of-
could do more.
All right. Do we have any questions for Nick? As they all skim through the packet quick.
So I just want to say something for this one, and we can talk about the other ones as well. So just, so you know, what's eligible for CDBG when it comes to parks projects. Most of the equipment and capital projects in a park that are considered low mod, which is defined by the service area of the park. Almost all the parks in the city are considered to be neighborhood parks with a half-mile range. So we draw a thing in GIS to determine the people that would fall under that category. A few parks are not included because they're considered regional. For example, Ross Park, because the zoo is considered a regional park, so it's not eligible. However, certain projects in parks, including removing barriers to the disabled, are eligible at any park. So, or actually pretty much any capital project anywhere. Removing barriers to the disabled is an eligible expense.
And to clarify, the parks that he did mention are in zones that are good.
So there's a list, I believe, so there's been a list that has been passed around.
Okay, perfect. Any questions for Nick? Do you know the last time those facilities were upgraded or had their courts done?
Before my time, for sure. I've been here since 2012, and I think quite a while before that, yeah. So
Okay, so
10, 15 plus.
that's above the lifespan usually.
They're in bad shape.
Okay,
We're just concerned about the safety for the kids.
all right, very good. Any other questions?
More of a comment. I'd like to thank you very much for filling out our requested report because it allows us at a quick
This is by far
glance
the best, yes.
to see what is on the wish list, what has been completed. And the photographs of the various parks was also nice. So just wanted to say that because our previous two speakers did not.
I would like to thank Mr. McGinnis, who's not here for that. Helped me along the way. So,
All right. Nick, thank you very much for your
Thank you.
presentation. All right. Final department presentation, BLDC.
Hello. You're fine.
Okay.
Take your time.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
My name is Sarah Gloss. I'm the Director of Economic Development for the City of Binghamton. By virtue of that role, I'm also the Executive Director of the Binghamton Local Development Corporation. Our department's kind of wonky, and I'll try to walk you through the reason I put Department of Economic Development on this sheet instead of BLDC. So for the past few years, Housing and Urban Development has advised us that we, for some reason, have to funnel our salary reimbursements through the BLDC. We, and Steve, you can correct me if I'm wrong, are fairly confident that in the future we'll be able to do these as direct reimbursements through the Department of Economic Development instead.
Correct. That's my understanding from the most recent communication with HUD.
So I will say there's a lot of overlap between the Department of Economic Development and the BLDC. They're functionally two arms of the same beast. My staff is the staff for the BLDC and the Department of Economic Development. So everything I talk about kind of goes to both as one economic development function for the city of Binghamton. So I put kind of a basic level of information on the uniform interview page. We are in the process of finalizing our annual report for the BLDC that goes over in more depth the activities we do. Unfortunately, that's not ready for prime time right now, but as soon as it is, I'll make it available to this body as it gives kind of a more full overview of what we do. But overall, through the Binghamton Local Development Corporation, we provide low interest, it's called concessionary capital, so below market rate loans, specifically to try to support through our CDBG allocation that goes to the BLDC, low to mod income job creators, or businesses that support low to moderate income areas, those predefined CDBG eligible areas, and just generally try to promote business development in the city of Binghamton. So a couple of kind of standout loans we've made recently. We made a loan of $200,000 to Rankin Enterprises LLC. They own some properties on State Street in our new arts district, and we're able to use these funds to build out a space that the Broome County Arts Council moved into. They've been a really great anchor of our arts district and have really brought the businesses together to try to understand what their role is in programming that space and making the infrastructure improvements we made actually function as an arts district and drive economic and community development in that part of Binghamton. We also funded Claw Industries. Some of you are probably familiar with Jacob Kumpan. The reason that he is not on this board is because by virtue of getting money from the BLDC, it was a conflict of interest. And he determined, I think rightfully so, that these funds would go farther than his participation here, although we were very grateful to have him for the time that he was serving on this board. The funds that we provided to Claw Industries are going to enable them to make investments in their manufacturing line. They are currently have funds to operate, let's call it, it's kind of a funky system, but they have 4 barrels that they can currently use actively. Their space has enough room for 11. And so this is helping them get those 4 up and running. And then we're working with them on potential grant opportunities and other ways to help finance and build that out. They have significant demand from Department of Transportation, from the City of Binghamton, Johnson City, City of Syracuse, and a number of private projects all across New York State. So very excited to be supporting them in turning our waste glass for Broome County into a value add product that supports concrete pours. In traditional concrete pours, you use the byproduct of coal burning power plants as this additive. And as those are being taken offline, that additive is less available, more expensive, and ultimately it is a byproduct of pollution. So to be able to use waste glass that otherwise we just have to pay to dispose of, both at the city of Binghamton, the county level, and actually turn that into something that helps us replace a pollutant byproduct. It's kind of a win-win all around. Also creating jobs and investing in a brownfield opportunity area over on Griswold Street, where they've purchased a building and made significant renovations. So overall, really great borrowers and an awesome project. And finally, Hanrahan Enterprises. So John Hanrahan was a longtime employee at Nurche's on Water Street in downtown Binghamton. When the owner wanted to retire, John, working with us, was able to get a loan to buy the business. Since he has gotten that loan, he's paid every month. He's doing very, very well. He was able to offer all of his employees a 401k program after he took ownership and maintain that long-time Water Street asset. He's really, really happy in his new role, and we're happy to have been part of supporting him in that. Day to day, my office, we're generally just talking to businesses. A lot of them are ones who call us. We did just add a staff person in our office that we hope will help us do more active outreach as opposed to just being an intake office, which is primarily what we do now. But we assist businesses with relocation, financing, whether it's through us or connecting them with other financing partners in the community, and just generally trying to support businesses. 2 grant programs we operated in the last year that we found to be very impactful. One was our commercial facade improvement grant that we funded through our American Rescue Plan dollars. To date, I wish I had the numbers in front of me, but it's about, we funded about I do have it right here. We funded about $128,000 in ARPA funds that leveraged about $390,000 in private investments. And also some of the before and after pictures are quite dramatic, and you'll see that they were, those investments really changed the exterior of these buildings and also therefore changed the corridors that they're in, the neighborhoods they're in. And again, those pictures will all be in the final draft of the annual report that I will absolutely provide to this group. And then we also fund the 607 Step Up Grant. So the Support Black Business 607 program, the SUNY Broome EAC 60-hour program, and the Small Business Development Center all support entrepreneurs in our community. And we set aside $50,000 to provide $5,000 grants to graduates of any of those programs or any other entrepreneurial program in the area to support them with startup costs. We had businesses that use this money to buy point of sale systems for retail establishments, to upgrade their websites, to buy computers, to be able to operate their business. As of the end of August, we had only made about $10,000 in reimbursements, but to date, we're closer to that $45,000 number. We have $5,000 remaining in that program, and we're actively looking for different ways that we can reseed that fund. And had a lot of lessons learned about how we can provide some more wraparound services for those folks who are getting that money. Because this helped us understand what those first-time entrepreneurs, and specifically minority and women-owned businesses, the specific challenges that they were facing in growing their businesses. And so in addition to being able to provide these funds, it also taught us a lot about what other programming we should be providing. So we're working with a lot of different partners in the community to understand how we better provide those wraparound services, specifically in financial and legal advice, which is something that we can't and shouldn't do from the city, but that these business owners really do need. And so how are we connecting them with those services? Finally, kind of our signature program is our business plan competition that we hold every spring. We're actually just in the process of launching that right now. So you guys will probably see some press on that. We get a lot of intake of businesses. The nice thing about our business plan competition is there really are no parameters, whereas a lot of statewide business competitions or universities, they're looking at student entrepreneurs, they're looking at more high-level entrepreneurs. We will take anyone from an idea to a full-fledged company. We encourage them to work with the Small Business Development Center to put together a business plan. So even if folks aren't prepared to actually enter, it helps us understand what the entrepreneurs in our community are doing and want to do. And again, just helps us figure out what the problems are so that we can help troubleshoot and solve them. Best case scenario, someone develops a business plan through this, is able to enter the competition and is ultimately successful. Worst case scenario, they get a taste of what it might be like to be a business owner and decide whether that path is right for them. We also provide technical assistance through that business plan competition through a series of webinars we hold, and just generally, again, try to provide those wraparound services so that we're not just providing money or just providing support, but looking at all the different ways that businesses need to be supported. That's just a taste of what we do. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
No, that was a good presentation.
Most thorough.
I know.
Well, I felt bad after you said that last thing. Like I had to talk more.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Deb has something?
Has her hand up, Deborah?
Hi, Sarah. Welcome and thank you very much for coming back. We appreciate it. Just a quick question. Are there any things possibly in the works that can help owner occupied, like we had talked in the past, like there's a person who is the homeowner but then rents. Is there anything in the works for helping them with anything through the BLDC? Or is it more projects that are 4 and above? And the second part of that, will you be part of the governor's housing initiative to restore existing housing stock? I was flabbergasted in Center City right now how many board ups we have. So I apologize, 2-part question on that, but just seeing where we're headed or where you are right now.
Yeah, so I can speak broadly to the goals of the administration certainly are to do all of those things. They're not necessarily through my department. My department focuses primarily on larger scale multi-unit developments, and planning, housing, and community development do more of the owner occupied and rental properties. Specifically through the BLDC, our mission is to support business growth. So anything that's purely residential with no commercial component, we generally don't get involved in. But I do know the city does have programs through its home allocation, and Steve could probably school me on some of the other ones that are available. So I know it's a priority. I am not 100% sure on the mechanisms or funding for it.
I can answer that a little bit, Deb. So we are in the process of reviewing our currently rehab, owner occupied rehab is limited to 1 unit or single unit household or single unit homes. So obviously, once we go to 2 or more, even if we require the owner occupied requirement, which we probably will for now, that then enters into that realm of now you're talking about rental housing. So we're sort of at the initial stages. We're still trying to shore up our standard single unit family rehab or single unit home housing rehab. But we are talking, I've been talking with Juliet in my office, and I've had a conversation with Sarah about what we could potentially do. It's just not, it's not right around the corner. It's something we kind of have to shore up some other things first, but we have, the conversations have occurred. We just haven't moved yet in there because we're still working on, for example, the utility rehab one which is just a brand new one we've been working on. So we're looking at it. We just haven't, I couldn't tell you much more than we're starting to explore it and see the viable options that there are there for it.
And that just jogged my memory. One of the things that we're, again, very in the early stages of talking about, which you have all probably heard, people are staying in their homes longer and they're not necessarily making investments in them. So we are talking to financial institutions in this area about, especially given the high interest rates, people aren't necessarily selling or buying as many homes right now as we would usually see in the market. How are we potentially encouraging people to make improvements in their home, specifically through New York State's community decarbonization money that's out through the CLCPA? And I'm gonna forget what it's called, but it ends with Climate Protection Act. There's lots of money available to support with weatherization and decarbonization, heat pumps, things like that. So how are we deploying those resources to homeowners or people who own multi-unit rentals that are owner occupied to be able to make those investments, hopefully at a lower interest rate than what we're seeing in the market that is probably prohibitively expensive for a lot of people who are in that situation. And as for the pro-housing communities designation, I'm actively involved in that in the sense that that will unlock some additional money from the state that we can access. And Juliet and planning and I work together on a lot of our grant proposals.
That would be great because some of our local developers could really, instead of the demo and the open lot, we really need to look at the rehab. And just one final question, when you spoke about the commercial alley, that is the artist, is that correct, that do the painting on the buildings?
Oh, I just
Or
meant
different-
like the commercial aspect, like a first floor storefront with housing above it.
All right, thank you. I misunderstood.
No, no problem.
Thank you for clarifying.
Any other questions for Sarah? No, seeing none.
And-
Thank you.
Just want to thank you for letting my class come and watch tonight. It's always good to get students out at public meetings and seeing government in action. So we appreciate you hosting us.
The biggest crowd of the year. Give yourself an applause.
Thank you.
All right. Steven decided he wants to make an amendment to our
Sorry, I'm
agenda
keeping you
for
here
today.
longer. I apologize. So I do want to encourage the BLDC or the CDAC to consider outside the box thinking, especially for departments. You may come up with some ideas and the departments did not, and we can present that to the departments. And if they agree, then this could be potentially something we could fund. So I thought I would go over, I already spoke about what parks can do. So I thought I'd go over the other departments and kind of explain what is and is not eligible. With economic development, typically that's done as salaries. The requirement for that with HUD is that they have to have spoken or they have to work with businesses that provide services to low-income people or in an area. So that's kind of the qualification for that. However, as Sarah spoke about grants, you could fund a grant program like the 607 grant program that they have outside of the standard BLDC salaries. On top of that, the revolving loan fund is currently 500. I think it's 500 and you guys are about to do 250 in loans. Yeah. Once that gets down to, I'd say gets down to zero, it's getting slowly filled back up as people pay back loans. But if you ever thought that it needs to be a little bit bigger, you can put money into it and then the LDC then does those loans. So right now they're still pretty good. They've done really, really good about finding, we didn't touch it for years and now we are actually starting to, and it's really great that this money's going out the door. They've used it for a lot of programs, including the 2 loans that Sarah spoke about, but also the Clinton Street Square, which is that new sort of quasi park that we've got now. And for the 607 grant, they've been using it for other things, which is a good use of that money, I think. So those are things that can qualify under CDBG eligible activities that are economic development. Going to the police. Cameras have to be installed in low income residential areas, and I can help the police find locations for that. We did put one, the last one I think we did was Doubleday in State or Doubleday in Shenango, I can't remember, which was eligible. But on top of capital projects, you can also do the police overtime, as well as the public services such as Deb had talked about with the Citizens Police Academy or whatever that's called. However, do note overtime and the Citizen Police Academy, those kinds of things fall under the services category. Remember, your services are capped. You cannot spend more than X amount in services. It's a percentage. It's 15% of the overall CDBG budget. That is a very, very competitive pool of funds. The mayor's going to have ones that he's absolutely going to fund. But on top of that, you've also got these other agencies. You've got Vines, you've got Urban League, you've got Action for Older Persons. All of those are sort of needing to dip into the pot. And don't forget, we've changed it from the previous way to do it to now basically setting a $20,000 grant. So you're going to have even fewer agencies to kind of dole that out to. So it's going to be even more competitive. So just be aware of that public services aspect. Going to DPW, when it comes to eligibility of DPW projects, these are almost always going to be streets projects, but they have to be in a low-income residential area. So it has to, and by that I mean primarily low-income residential. We do a thing through GIS to determine it. It's really boring and takes a long time. But with that being said, if a street is eligible, and it's usually a block or two or more that they're going to do, they can do the streets, they can do the sidewalks, they can do the underground utilities, they can do the curbs, they can do pretty much anything with CDBG money. So just be aware of that and those requirements. So that's the discussions on eligibility. If you have any other questions, and actually before I go to my next step, if anybody has any questions on what is or is not eligible, not just for the standard CDBG, like the applicants you've talked to before, but also the city departments, I am willing to answer questions. Oh,
Steve, I know there's a residential program. It's a 50-50 split on the sidewalk. But if it becomes an accessibility and safety issue, does it then come out of that particular category? And are funds not, what I would say, constrained?
Well, you could certainly, if you wanted to earmark specific money for that 50-50 split, you could use it to offset lower income residential areas. And also don't forget what I had said previously about parks. If it's an accessibility issue, that automatically qualifies no matter where you do it. So depending on the nature of, say, a damaged sidewalk or curb or the access ramps, however you do it, depending on where that is, it may qualify as CDBG. So you as a body could earmark money for DPW, streets, DPW 50-50, but to offset those costs. And that might be something that you could do. Now, is that parcel specific? Is that the 50-50 for individual homeowners?
That's how I'm aware of it.
Okay.
And then passed it out to neighbors in various meetings that was available to them. But I just remember we've spoken about accessibility, especially around General Hospital and the pitiful shape that sidewalks are in. Just wasn't sure if that qualified under the accessibility.
So yeah, generally accessibility is good to go no matter what, because you're removing what HUD refers to removing barriers to disabled access. So that's the HUD. That's a big thing with HUD. So anything that's removing those barriers is qualified almost no matter where you're putting them. So that could be even beyond the 50-50 split as a separate thing. The 50-50 split, if it's homeowner specific, what we could do then is potentially income qualify the homeowners if they're willing, and perhaps provide a portion, if not all, of their portion of the split, or even the entire project, depending on how DPW wants to do it.
Great suggestion.
Just letting you guys know. Any other questions about eligibility with city departments and any of the projects, not only this meeting, but the previous meeting? Hmm? Okay, so the next thing I just want to talk to you is about is the next 3 to 4 well, it's 4 meetings. Well, 3 if you guys are really, really good. The next meeting is going to be the non-applicants meeting. That's going to be the one where I reach out to agencies. I have sent out 1 or 2, but not many. So if you have, and you don't have to tell me now, but I will write one down if you write ones down if you come up with any. I will reach out to any of the agencies that aren't applying for funds. We have a standardized form for them to fill out. It's just essentially we look at those agencies as stakeholders. For example, Cdac will be one I reach out to. Hey, Cdac, stakeholders, you deal with people with disabilities. Do you have, what's the state of that group in the city? What things are needed to meet this group's goal, needs? And so will be invited to present. I have a feeling I'm going to reach out to a lot, and only a few may want to present. So, but hopefully, even if they're not going to present, they're going to fill that form out, and we can talk about it at the next meeting, even if they don't come. So, we can talk about that. The COC needs to make recommendations, but today the COC voted to dissolve itself. So I guess I'm just going to talk about the recommendations then. So, so that's a funny little thing that happened today. So, I will be making the presentation for the COC committee subcommittee that made the determination for the ESG recommendations. So don't even ask me why they dissolved. I cannot answer that question.
Okay.
Steve, for our new members, just a couple sentences about that organization and why we relied on them.
Oh, the COC, and just so you know, I do speak in HUD speak, so it's all, letters. The COC is the Continuum of Care NY 511. They're the homeless coalition. It's not that homeless activities won't be done. There won't be some sort of organizational thing, but they want to change the way it's currently being done. But the first step is dissolving, which means that there's going to be about 1.5 years before a new agency forms. So I don't know what the status of that. And the city, as a non-voting member,
That's not good.
I just can sit and watch and take notes. So that's pretty much all I can do with that.
That's not good.
But other agencies, I wrote down Cdac, Office for Aging, the VA.
You can write down the Broome County Council of Churches. I don't think
No, they did.
Did they present? I don't think
I
they did.
think they're currently getting funding for 3 different projects, but they
Okay.
may not have applied for next year.
Okay, yeah.
But
I know-
if they did not apply, I'll definitely
Okay.
reach out to them. Any agency suggestions or groups? If there's a stakeholder group, you say, hey, I want people representing the stakeholder, I'll reach out.
Good Neighbors and also Glory Shines.
Definitely Glory Shines.
What's that? Gloria what?
Glory Shines, they,
Oh, Gloria.
They
Yeah.
make hot meals and provide them to homeless people in the hotels
Oh,
around in our
okay.
area.
Kind of like outreach ministries. That's
Yeah.
that's a street outreach thing. So definitely reach
Yes.
out to them.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other agencies or stakeholders? Groups of people you think we need to learn more about? Okay. So that's the next meeting on the 6th. On the 20th will be the public hearing. This is the first public hearing. This is basically essentially the CDAC public hearing. What you're doing is you're going to invite the public to come and say, hey, what do you want us to do with this money? And then the public tells you. I know from past experiences, generally what we get is a lot of the agencies that apply for funds use this as a second presentation. That's totally eligible. That's fine. I do like it though when members of the public come or stakeholders that aren't applying just come and talk about what we should fund. After that, on April 3rd will be the first of the budgetary meetings. That will be pizza night. And on 4/17, if we need to, and we cannot, and don't force yourself to get all the budgets done in one night, it's a secondary budget night. So if you need to finalize, for those who've been through this process, it can be a long, grueling process, and you tend to fight over the tiniest things of money. It's really funny. And that's fine because that's exactly what your job is. So, but that's what I have for coming up, and I just want to make sure everyone knew. The public hearing will be, I believe, March 20th. So I've got to get an ad in the paper, put that post the signs like oh, I can't put them at the library anymore. But like the Weiss and downstairs City Hall, County Office Building, those kinds of
Do
things.
you do anything on social media for a public hearing or can
I
we?
do not. I can
can we-
reach out to the mayor's office to do that, and I'll make a note to
I'll-
reach out to the mayor's
I'll
office.
put it
about
up on
that.
my page too. Once you have it, if you can just email it to me,
Okay.
I'll do it.
So just to clarify, stakeholders on the 6th, public meeting on the 20th,
Yes,
and the 2 budget meetings the first 2 Wednesdays of April.
3rd and 17th.
Thank you.
And that's all I've got to say unless anyone else has anything.
Nope.
Drowning in paperwork today here. All right. We're at that point again. So it's time to close out our meeting and do our final attendance. And starting over here with our city council person.
Kenya Middleton, Second District.
Nope, go ahead, keep going.
Kenya Middleton, Second District, ex officio.
Deborah Hogan, mayoral appointee.
Ebony Hato, Second District Secretary.
Justin McGregor, Chair, 7th District.
Marilyn Austin, sixth district.
Jordan Trice, 5th District.
All right, time for adjournment. Do we have a motion?
Motion to adjourn?
Second? Seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you very much. We'll see you.